We don't talk a lot about it anymore. If you'll notice, in our communications, we don't talk about the number of insurgents that we've killed, because it's not about how many you've killed. It's about preventing them having access to the population. And we've done a good job of that. But in the process, our special operating forces, through precision operations, have taken a tremendous toll of the leadership of terrorist and insurgent organizations. And those are combined Afghan coalition organizations that have been doing this, and it's an extraordinary effect. And that is going to have a cumulative positive effect on what we're doing. Also on the ground, what you have done here through hard work, most notable or in the press, the Central Helmand River Valley, areas that had not been secured for a long time, now have forces that are doing extraordinary work in names we know: Garmsir Nawa, Musakala. All areas that were very difficult are now the beginning of providing effective security for the population. And that's where we're going, and we're doing that, and it's slow but sure, but it's effective. And we're going to do more, and as you've seen over time, we're going to continue to build those. When you go back and talk about the effect of our operations, just one, Ghulam Yahya out in the Herat area was targeted, killed along with about 23 of his accomplices, and very soon after, a tremendous number, like 56 of his former fighters, came in and reintegrated with the government of Afghanistan. And that is the combination of precision strike, but also giving people a chance to rejoin society with respect. And that's going to be critical to the way ahead. Okay, what's the way ahead going to look like over the next year and a half? As many of you have heard, this will go on for quite a while, but it will be decided, in my view, in the next 1 to 2 years. We are going to focus with additional forces in the South. The South is going to be the main effort. I believe that by next summer, the uplift of new forces will make a difference on the ground significantly. I believe that by this time next year, we'll see a level of progress that will convince us that we can clearly articulate the progress and predict the effectiveness of our operations. And I believe that by the summer of 2011, that will be obvious to all the players involved. To the Taliban, to the insurgents, I think it'll be obvious to the Afghan National Security Forces, it'll be obvious to us, and it will be obvious to the Afghan people in all of those areas. And that's the critical point, so that we can offer them the confidence that we're going to be able to provide that security. Okay, the next thing that we threw out is commitment. One of the things that's critical when we talk about counterinsurgency or any effort, anything we do, but particularly military operations, it's the fact that you're committed. Typically, in a military contest, the side that believes it will win and is committed enough ultimately does. What we are trying to do is get the population of Afghanistan to believe in their government and the security that they can be provided, so that they will commit themselves to support. What we've seen, President Obama's speech is clearly a demonstration of commitment. Embedded partnering, which we have stood up, is a demonstration of commitment. There's a saying that the Germans use, and I'll butcher the pronunciation, Schulterschluss, but what it means is feel of the cloth. And it came from a time when soldiers fought in tight formations and their shoulder rubbed up against the shoulder next to them. And from the feel of the cloth, they got confidence because they knew they weren't alone. From the feel of the cloth, they knew they were part of a team. What what we are trying to do with embedded partnering is to provide that same confidence, the feel of the cloth of partners who are committed to each other and committed to a single cause. We had an operation recently up in Balamurgab. We tragically lost 2 soldiers to drowning in a very fast-moving river there. And we had a number of different elements that were in Balamurgab operating, but as they went to establish enough security to recover those bodies, and it was a firefight going on before the loss of the 2 individuals and for the first day after it, Afghan National Police, Afghan National Army, Italian forces, Spanish forces, American forces, and the locals who had been operating on the side of the Taliban the day before started working together. Okay, it's still very fragile. There's still not huge confidence, but there is commitment to improving the security there. And there are a number of people who are making it work. And they are doing everything every day to make that the essence of counterinsurgency work. And that's an area that has been very troubled for a long time. Finally, confidence. Okay, we've been here 8 years. Why would we be confident? Why would we believe that the future will be better than the previous 8 years? Well, first I'll tell you there's an awful lot has been accomplished in the last 8 years. An amazing amount. If you just go out and see the improvements in life, basic physical things, from electricity to roads to schools, there's been an amazing amount of progress made. And so the last 8 years have not been at all without tremendous progress. But we do have a challenge right now. And so the confidence that we have, for me, derives from a number of things. First, President Karzai, in his inaugural address, he demonstrated confidence in the way ahead. He said in the next 3 years he expects to take significant responsibility for security in key areas of the country, and in 5 years it's his intent that the Afghan forces take lead in security for the sovereignty of the country. Confidently, too, the Afghan people have stayed committed. And look at the demonstrations of confidence they've given just in voting, just in supporting, just in joining Afghan National Security Forces. And then there's the commitment of the people in this room. This summer, I was down visiting Lieutenant Colonel Gus Fair's organization as they had just gone through significant combat in Spin Majid. Young men, they had lost a lot of casualties. They and their Afghan partners in that fight had fought through an incredible depth of IEDs that were like a minefield. But they did it, they took it through, and there was almost no collateral damage or civilian casualties. And that was a commitment on their part, but the confidence that they could do it. And when I look in their eyes, and I keep a photograph of their organization in my office now, because every time I look at them, I gain confidence. I think we're in a very different place, as I mentioned. I was up a couple of weeks ago for an Australian Remembrance Day ceremony up in Iruzgan. There were Dutch, Australian, French, Afghans, obviously a few Americans. And they remembered the First World War. But as I looked around and I saw the soldiers there, it's clear to me that they are cut from the same cloth that have made our forces so proud in the past. As I've watched your forces and I've watched you lead, I see the same thing. So it's very, very difficult for me to see 43 nations in a coalition joined by brave Afghan partners and not be confident. So I would say today